Hey everyone, it is episode 100 of the Live Beyond Average podcast. I'm pretty excited. I know I've been looking forward to this for the last several weeks just because I knew it was creeping up. We've been really busy. I actually thought I would hit number 100 a little bit faster, but we are right on pace. I knew I was going to hit it before the end of the year, and here we are. So it's really funny. I didn't know what I was going to do for episode 100. I was kind of leaving it open. I had in mind that I was going to do something really special, but I wasn't sure what that is. I couldn't quite lock it in. I really wanted to get one of my best friends and my co-host of Run to Gun TV, who hasn't even been on an episode yet, Matt McCraney, down for an episode. Time restraints, I knew wasn't going to make that happen by the time I wanted to get this episode out. And then I thought about doing like a best of series of best of the first 99 podcasts and just do a huge mashup for like an hour long. But I really wanted to put out something completely fresh and new. I thought that was going to be more special than doing that previous idea of the best of 99. So that left me a little bit complexed and really was thinking about what I wanted to do. And so I was asking my wife this morning, I'm like, hey, I'm going to film the 100th podcast today. What do you think I should do? What's your opinions? What's your thoughts? Because, she's been alongside this whole thing. She's been on a couple episodes, but she's been on this whole journey with me. We started this like a year and a half ago. And so she's, been along for this whole thing. And she goes, oh, you like without even hesitation, she was like, oh, you need to talk about how, the persistence and perseverance of it all. And I'm like, oh, like, duh, that is totally what I need to talk about. And I have a story here that's going to be really interesting to you because I've preached about, the patience. I've preached about how, our long journey with Run to Gun, how we started all the way back in 2011 and slowly progressed into adjustments and changes and small growth over time. I've also talked about the not quitting and people that have all these great ideas and beautiful passions that are just being a little impatient and quitting early on the things that they love. And so what happened goes right along with those things and right along with the things I preach. So obviously, just like Run to Gun TV, with this podcast, things don't grow overnight. We've even Run to Gun in general. We started in 2011. Here we are, 2019, still working on growth. Okay, same thing with the podcast. When we started this 99 episodes ago, it's not like we post up and we're going to get 1,000 listens, right? It's going to take time. You're going to put up with 7 listens and then 20 listens, 33 listens, and so forth and so on, and waves and things like that. So, when we started this 18-ish months ago, you're not getting a ton of listens on your first several posts, on your first podcasts. And so it's all about that persistence and continuing to put out as much content as possible is what we did. I was trying to put out 2 to 3 podcasts a week in the midst of all this because I was still working another job when we started this. But it was really my way of talking to myself. I look back at some of those things in my own personal lessons, obviously, but there were several podcasts where I was still working a job I absolutely hated, all while I was still working full-time with Run to Gun and trying to balance it all. And so as I was trying to work my way out of this job that I absolutely hated, I was using the podcast as an additional platform for myself to be able to speak to myself, to be able to feed positivity into myself. And it's just funny how it all grows because at that point, I'm to the point in my career when I started this is that I had always wanted to speak on things. I felt like I needed to earn the right to speak on it. And when I started this, after 5.5, 6 years being in business, I finally felt like I earned that right to be able to start vocalizing these things that I have learned, the things that I've been through. And so that's when I started the podcast because I no longer truly cared about other people's opinions and thoughts about if I did this. Where beforehand, I didn't know if I had the confidence yet to put up with that, and I did worry somewhat what people would think. So it was just personal self-growth and self-awareness to get to that point. So I knew right away when we were going to start kicking these out that it wasn't like I was going to get a whole bunch of listens. And so just growth over time. And so Then this weekend, I had my buddy Devin over for a podcast on Saturday. That was episode 98. And my other co-host, Dustin, on Monday for episode 99. Between recording Devin's podcast and Dustin's podcast and posting them both up within 48 hours, we got over 2,000 listens on one of our channels. I mean, just like we hit like 1,200 on one in one day, and then that other day we just blew up over 2,000. I haven't even checked it here later in this week to see what we're at, but it's just super ironic to me that I'm going to jump on episode 100, and we've been, you do this for so long, little climb, stagnant, little climb, and then all of a sudden you just hit a smashed window. Something hits, a moment in time where I could have posted Devin's the podcast we did together at just a specific time, happened to get 40 people to listen to it pretty well all at once, or 50 people or 60 people, whatever that number was, I don't know. And it could have bumped, my suggested podcast into, a top 10 or 20 suggested podcast thing on Sunday and Monday morning when there might have been a lot of listeners on, and got an additional 1,000 listeners randomly from that. So just a crazy moment in time when it came to that. You could call it, absolute luck, which part of that is, but that doesn't happen unless you're consistent and persistent with putting out the content. And so we hit this crazy spike, and I just find it super ironic that it would happen right as we were going in and leading into episode 100, which is kind of a benchmark. You're sticking with something. You're continuing to do it. You're being consistent with yourself, putting out your message, having something to speak about. And so I just find it super ironic. And when we think about this podcast, the Live Beyond Average podcast, and that has been our mantra for so long, I believe season 3 and 4, we came out with that mantra, and it has been our mantra for so long, not only just in the hunting and fitness world. We use hunting and fitness as such that avenue to talk about, to use as an example, but how it actually relates in full circles and ties into so many other areas of our life. And what does living beyond average truly mean to you? Whether that is being a better brother, a better husband or wife, a better coworker or boss, a better business owner, a better Christian, whatever that is, it really ties in to all aspects of our life. We speak a ton about hunting, a lot about fitness and health, but try to relate it all the way back in. So when you're thinking about the Live Beyond Average podcast and staying consistent and persistent with what we've done over 100 episodes, tie that in. Here, we're in December of 2019. So really think about what it is that you're trying to accomplish. What are your goals, ambitions, and your dreams that you're trying to do this upcoming year? If so many of those things are so important to you, stop and reflect and realize and think about those things. Give insane energy in your mind as well to really start focusing on what you need to actually do from a consistent standpoint, from thinking about things in the long term, knowing that it's going to take time and accepting that it's going to take time, that these good things, these little positive jumps don't happen very quickly, that they take a ton of time, a ton of work, a ton of consistency to get and receive that moment in time, to gain a little bit of attraction, to gain that positive feedback, to gain whatever it is you're looking for to accomplish that. So really think about that. If those things are important to you, you're not going to wait until January 1st to hit a New Year's resolution to start working for them. They're going to be important to you right now. You're going to start putting forth that massive positive energy and that thought, and you're going to think about things. How do you execute on them after you start thinking about them? What are you going to do to execute? What are you going to do to make these happen? What are you going to do to hold yourself accountable, to stay consistent this coming year, starting tomorrow? And so I wanted to share a little bit of that story, how I thought it was pretty crazy about the moment in time and how we had a huge spike in our listeners on episode 98, 99, and moving into episode 100 here of the Live Beyond Average podcast. And we're super stoked to have you part of the journey, such a small piece. I hope that some of what I can do can be a reflection and an empowerment and a motivation for you to go and chase those things that you're wanting to do that are important to you, because I view myself as an everyday guy, an everyday kid that came from a small town of 500 that married. I grew up in a class of 13 and married one of them, and grew up with just big goals, big ambitions and dreams. You've heard me talk about those big dreams being discouraging dreams. To dream so big that they almost discourage you, and most days that they do, but you still take the steps daily and hold yourself accountable daily to just go for it and to chase them. And I hope that a little bit of what I do can reflect positively towards you and help you to believe that, hey, I can do it too, that I have every right to go after it and to chase what I want to do and to live passionately and to live a life beyond the linear confines of average. So thank you so much for tuning in. Episode 100, a little bit shorter, but I hope impactful and empowering to you to go out and truly take the steps and to take action on something that you love, that you want to do starting now, and to love it, have fun with it, to go learn about yourself, to learn about the trueness of yourself that nobody else knows, and start putting it out there. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for listening to episode 100 of the Live Beyond Average podcast. Truly, thank you so much.